Welcome to Direct Input, Artists and Voting. How we doing? Yeah? Love it? All right, so my name's Emily White. I'm the founder of #iVoted Concerts, along with, I'm gonna give a shout out to my co-founder, Pat Sansone is here. We produce data-driven concerts on election night and during the early voting period that the public enters with a selfie from outside their polling place. So I'm gonna let my fabulous panelists introduce themselves. We'll start with Lucille.
Hello. Hi, everyone. I am Lucille Wenegieme. I am the Executive Director at Headcount. We do youth voter registration and voter engagement at the intersection of music and culture, which basically means that we register music fans at concerts, at festivals, and we work with artists at sort of every point in their career to activate young people on that frame. And so we've worked with folks across industry. So we were talking about Billy earlier in the last slide, in the last session. We worked with her in 2022. Alicia Keys, who we also talked about, we've worked with in the past. We're with Dead & Company at the Sphere right now. So there's that, but then there's also, we've got folks that we work with all across the country, including Allison Russell, Brittany Howard, and others. So yeah, we activate folks at every point in their career and turn music fans into voters.
Hey everybody, how's everybody doing? Okay, my name is Tequila Johnson. I'm the co-founder and CEO of the Equity Alliance and the Equity Alliance Fund. We are a statewide Black power building organization. We build independent political and economic power for communities of color. And what does that look like? Do we just organize Black people? No, we organize everyone around the notion of Black liberation.
Wow, so cool. Amazing. I am Denitia. I am a country and Americana singer-songwriter based right here in Nashville. I've been really grateful to work with Sarah Barrett, Kindred Partnerships, and the Change Agency in the last year to find more ways to use my voice to support the causes that I believe in. And I'm also just interested and hungry for more of those opportunities.
Incredible. Yeah, give it up. All right, so for anyone here, does an artist or music industry person need to identify as an activist before they get involved? Or really anyone, but we're talking about artists and industry folks on this panel.
Well, I can hop in. I would say that not everybody might identify as an activist. Like, I would love to expand the definition of that to include everybody that does something, but it can be hard to kind of shift your identity in that way. And so from our perspective, you don't have to be an activist to act. You just have to do the next right thing. And so it's important to think about, okay, what is the thing that I'm doing? Even if you can't, necessarily make that shift to, this is my identity, or this is my identity as a musician, as an artist, as, sort of a culture maker. There's still a next right thing that you can do, even while you're figuring that out. And as long as you're doing that, and if you do it enough times, you'll find that the shoe fits.
Agreed. And maybe to remove any barrier of intimidation too, like, oh my gosh, I have to know all these things.
Yeah, right? Absolutely. Lower the barrier for entry, right? There's no perfect activism anywhere. And so the idea that you're just building the habit, doing a little bit more, I think is useful. And that's all that's the start. There's obviously a world of possibilities from there.
Awesome. Yeah.
I would say no, simple answer. And the reason why I say that is I think that oftentimes in spaces when we're talking about activism, and if we want to define activism, the dictionary defines it as someone who campaigns for social and political change. That doesn't always have to happen on the front lines. If you, within your label, are campaigning for social and policy change, you, my friend, are an activist. And so I think we have this idea of what activism means and what it should look like and who should be doing it. And what that does is dehumanize the movement. It dehumanizes the struggle, and it kind of almost boxes it into this narrative of who is supposed to do it and who is not supposed to do it. It is every person in here's responsibility to be an activist. We should all be campaigning for our neighbors and for the people around us. And I think if everyone walked in feeling responsible for the person next to them, we would see less of the things that we see in our communities and in our country.
Incredible.
Yes, absolutely. I'm glad that you kicked off this conversation with that question, and then we got to hear from y'all as well, because that's been a part of the conversation as of late, and also leading up to this panel is sort of thinking about myself as, am I an activist or am I not? I am someone who has a moral compass, like Representative Pearson was talking about earlier, and I'm trying to find ways to get engaged, and I feel like trying to like live up to some sort of idea about what an activist may or may not be is maybe not the most efficient or direct way to just go ahead and get involved. So I think no is the answer, is that you don't have to call yourself an activist to affect change. And I think that it is really just about taking those steps to support the causes and lending your voice to the things that you believe in.
I love it. So as an entrepreneur, I've been thinking a lot about how do we solve voting? And, you know, to me, that really comes down to 3 steps: registration, IDs, where there are these, you know, voter ID laws, like here in Tennessee, and turnout. So I want to start with registration. Tequila, please share your approach that led to successfully registering over 200,000 Black and brown voters here in Tennessee alone.
In Tennessee alone, not by myself though. And that's my approach, is that it takes all of us. I always say not everybody can do everything, but we all can do something, right? Even if that is giving rides, giving $5, giving $500,000, hopefully got some big name artists in here, or whatever that is. And I think the thing that made that campaign successful, the first thing, was that it was a coalition. It was a collaborative effort. We worked with churches. We worked with other organizations. We worked with independent contractors. We worked with anyone who had the same mission, the same vision, and wanted the same things that we did, and that we do, because we're still, that number's growing. And that is how we've been able to do voter registration. The second thing is making it culturally relevant. When we talk about politics, when we talk about voter registration, when we talk about civic engagement, we tend to talk about it in a bubble. We talk about it to people who already know about it. And then when we try to talk about it to people who don't care about it, they don't care and they don't want to listen. And why? Because it isn't something that resonates with them. So we did voter registration at clubs, strip clubs, nightclubs, laundromats, daycare centers, in the hood, in the church, in the suburbs, wherever there are people, you need to go and you need to register them. And so I think those would be my 2 ingredients, is making it culturally relevant, making it unboxed. Don't confine it to, I have to sit at a table with voter registration forms and register people to vote. Do it at concerts, do it at festivals, do it at places where people are, where people play, where they work, all those things. And then the other thing is, don't do it alone. The idea of democracy is about people. It is about a collaborative effort from people. And so we can't fix this broken idea of democracy by ourselves. It's going to take collaboration.
Denitia, do you offer voter registration resources to your audience?
I don't. And I think when we had a conversation about an hour ago about this, a light bulb kind of went off in my head, because I didn't really realize that that was something that I could offer, or it's something that is feasible and available. But I would like to. So I'd love to talk more about how I can do that, and how artists who are attending this can also do that.
Yeah, well, great segue. So, Lucille, you're at the forefront of the most groundbreaking voter registration organization in the music industry, and arguably in the entertainment and even sports industries combined. We hear a lot about voter reg, and I think it can be easy to take for granted. So why is this step of the voting process so important when it's easy to get lost in the noise on crucial issues like voter suppression and civic engagement at large?
Yeah, when we think about registration, it really is the portal. I mean, if you reverse engineer it, it's the first barrier, right? Like, even the premise that you have to register that's not a given in other parts of the world, in other countries that consider themselves to be, forward thinking, or, insert other word here, right? So we tackle that because it's the first barrier, and everything is slotted in after that. So for us, we open the funnel, right? We get as many people into that as possible. We work with folks that are continuing to open up the funnel of who can register, when they can register, how can they register. And then ideally, we get to handhold with folks that are doing the work in that sort of local peer-to-peer interaction every time that we can. So that's how we work. We're a network of over 60,000 volunteers, and so we do kind of activate at a couple of different layers, and we train people. We say, hey, these are the laws where you live. These are the laws and the places that you might go to if you're in a festival, if you're at a festival in a different place, or you're working with a different partner. And we often will exchange, here's what we've learned. Here are the tools that we have. Here's the access that we have. And then, we tend to work with a lot of local partners to say, okay, we can be at these places. We can't be everywhere. So where are the other places that we can't be? Where are the other places where it's not right for us to be because there's already an established relationship, an established community of people that are activating? Okay, how can we support you? We're right now we're talking to a coalition of college athletes across the country, tens of thousands of them that are leaders on their campuses, and thinking through, okay, what does it look like to support them? What does it look like to support DJs? We're talking to DJ at the polls. These are folks who are deeply ingrained with their communities. They're constantly talking about what's new, what's interesting. They're doing it in a culturally competent way, and it's not just about voting, right? Because if any of us were putting together a to-do list, voting would not be on it. I work at an organization that's centered around that, and I'm like, wait, when am I doing that exactly? And so being able to talk to people who are just like you, just like me, making it happen. We have opinions, we have thoughts, we have people that we care about, and that's why we're showing up. We're in all of the ways that we show up, and voting is part of that. It's part of that menu, and registration is the first gateway to doing that. So that's why we really focus there.
I love that. And is the team the organization that's working with college athletes and coaches?
Yeah. So that's one of our partners, and they have a coalition of athletes all across the country, but they're specifically focused in, I believe it's Nevada, North Carolina, and Michigan. And so that's just one of many partners that we have that some of them are at the national level, some of them are at the state level, some of them are hey, literally, I'm just activating in my neighborhood. Some of these folks are artists. Obviously, artists are our top partners in this work. Headcount we have our 20-year anniversary, and artists have really been the way through. And whether that's folks who are playing shows and they say, hey, I want to be able to talk about this. I want to be able to talk about this from stage, and being able to kind of grow in that to say, okay, well, I do want to have somebody doing voter registration at this show. I want voter registration at every one of my shows. I want to engage with not just Headcount, but other folks that are doing things around the issues that I care about in addition to civic engagement, because it's not just about voting, it's about actually engaging people in the entirety of their lives, about all the things that they care about and all the people that they love.
Yeah, that's great. So, you touched on this, but, for Denitia, or really, an artist at any range of development, how can they plug in to registration effectively? But, both Lucille and Tequila, both at the local and national level.
Yeah. Do you want to go first?
Sure. I think so. In Nashville, in Tennessee, there are several organizations that you can plug into. One that we work with often is Civic Tennessee, and of course the Equity Alliance. We have tools that you can use. I can give you a text code now that you can say from the stage, hey, if you fired up, text, whatever to this number, and people can from their phones vote. We can give you QR codes, and that way not only can we get people signed up right then to vote, but we can also keep in contact with them, because as she said, registering to vote is just the entry point. And most people who register to vote, especially if they've never voted before, don't actually turn out and vote. You have to engage them. So I think tapping into the local network of organizations, and if there are national organizations like Headcount and iVoted that are coming in town specifically around these festivals, finding those opportunities where you can reach out. But easily, what I would challenge the audience, especially all of the producers, all of the industry folk in the audience, is we should do a voter registration challenge. We should get with some of the orgs in state and say, hey, let's put out a couple text codes and let's see how many artists, how many fans register to vote at the shows over the summer. We have a major election coming up. So I think part of that is us as people who are doing the work, actually having conversations like this. This is very important, so that we can share those opportunities with you, because you wouldn't have known that if I wouldn't have said that. And then me, if you ever get an itch to do voter registration, just call me. I'll be there.
Absolutely. Sure will.
Yeah, and we do a very similar thing. And obviously, for folks that are here in Nashville and playing across Tennessee, absolutely, we always say go with who you know, go with who's in your neighborhood, go with who is available to you. And if you happen to be going on tour and you're in a few different places, Headcount can pinch hit there. We've got volunteers in over 34 states. As I mentioned, there's over 60,000 of us, so we can show up and make sure that you guys get sorted. We again, we make it fun, we make it interesting. We can tailor it to you and your style, and make sure that your fans have a really great experience. And then, of course, as folks progress in their career, if that's how folks move, there are additional things that you can do, because it's not just about registration, right? It's about making sure that folks have the information that they need. Is it an ID? Is it the time? Is it that you have early voting options? Is it that you can request your mail ballot? Maybe you want to be able to request your mail ballot, but you live in a place where you can't. Those are the kinds of things where, again, we're widening that funnel and making it possible for more people to be engaged. And so if you're thinking about, maybe being in multiple places, Headcount might be a really good partner for you. And then another thing that we do too is digital activations. So sometimes folks aren't on tour, if you're, kind of hunkered down working on your next album, that's another place where we can plug in and say, hey, like, if you want to use your social media platforms, if you want to do something, we've done challenges as well with, multiple folks that are engaging together. We do a register a friend day where we give folks matching codes and they get to share things with their friends. And so there's lots of ways, even if you're not, saying something directly from stage or having registration at your show, those are amazing options. But you can also use the platform that you have. Again, there's a next right thing always. You're thinking, oh, I might not be playing shows for another, couple weeks. There's something you can do tomorrow, and we can get you set up with that. And that's a thing that you can do, tomorrow, the next day, 6 months from now. It's always election day somewhere. On any given Tuesday in America, people are making a stand or taking a vote on, whether or not they have clean water, or whether or not their schools are good, or if that's a place that they want to live versus the next town over. And so that's also what we do. Obviously, we activate not just in election years. Artists aren't just vocal in election years. Every year is an election year. There's always something to be done to make your community better. And so there's lots of things that artists, industry folks, everybody in between can do to activate, for sure.
That's great. And Denitia certainly has that platform, as she was recently named one of CMT's Next Women of Country Class 2024. Great. Okay, so moving on to IDs. Tequila, as you know better than anyone, Tennessee is a voter ID state. So does the Equity Alliance work with communities to ensure they feel supported to check their ID status so they're prepared to vote?
Absolutely. You said yes to answer your question, but Tennessee is one of the hardest states to vote in, which is why we're 51 in voter turnout. We're dead last. We're ranked at the bottom in everything besides the bad things like infant mortality rate, access to health care, access to clean water. We're ranked at the top in music, so that's a plus. But other than that, yeah, we're at the bottom, and what we try to do is educate people so that it's not always us telling people what they need to know, but it's us almost training the trainer, training people how to be those advocates for themselves in the communities. I like to tell people all the time, nobody's coming to save us, and we're not coming to save anybody. People are going to save themselves, and we're going to ensure that they have the tools, that they have the resources, and that they have the access to be their own saviors. And so when you approach the work like that, it takes a different form. So instead of us always saying, oh, we got to go out and make sure everybody knows everything, it is, who are the people in these communities? Whether it be artists, whether it be the grandma at the end of the corner, that are influential, that can go out and do these trainings as well. And so one of the ways that we approach that is by training people to be the leaders and the change that they need in their own communities.
Incredible. And we have a leader right here. So Denitia, we have all leaders up here, absolutely. Denitia, in a country where half of Americans are disenfranchised due to voter ID laws, I'd be curious as an artist if you're open to providing ID resources at shows and in digital campaigns.
Yeah, definitely. As Tequila was talking, I was just sitting here kind of mulling over I'm about to put an album out this year, and I've got like some different kind of points of where people are going to gather. And I'm thinking about different ways we can get people in to check their IDs to make sure that they're registered, and then 2 steps away from there, make sure that there's some place to get them registered. So the answer is yes, definitely. And it's amazing that people are so mobilized to like provide those resources at the ready. So I'm glad we're having this conversation.
Excellent. And Lucille, how does Headcount work with orgs like Vote Riders to ensure your young registrants are ready to vote with the correct IDs where necessary?
Yeah, it is worth saying that, again, creating another barrier, having another barrier is incorrect, and we'll always, push against that. But while things are as they are, we'll make sure that people get what they need to get done. And so Vote Riders are a really great partner that makes sure that folks have IDs. We have specifically like a Vote with Pride campaign where we make sure that our trans folks have what they need to be able to have their voice heard in our system in a useful way, in a empowering way. And we also do phone banking. So we call folks all across the country and we let them know, hey, do you know that you live in a place where you need voter ID? Have you updated yours? And we get people set. So we do it really person to person, and we get a bunch of folks on a Zoom call and we make it fun. And again, it's just another way to plug in. You don't always have to have a platform or have a stage. It can really be that simple as getting on the phone and calling people and asking if they have what they need. And Vote Riders is just one of the partners that we have to get that done.
Agreed. One of my goals this year is to make checking your ID status cool. So I'm excited about Vote Riders, and any artists that want to get involved with them. That's something we can support you with. So, okay, now we're moving on to turnout. We've covered registration. We've talked about IDs. Tequila, how does the Equity Alliance work with the community to ensure they feel safe to turn out and vote?
Wow, that's a loaded question. I don't know if the community will ever feel safe. And I think one of the things that we do is we don't lie to people. I don't go and knock on people's door and tell them if you go vote for somebody, they're going to change your life, because that's simply not true. It is a process. And so one of the ways that we keep them safe is by keeping it real with them, letting them know what threats exist, letting them know what to look for, making sure that they are equipped with the information that they need to cast their vote. We put out a voter guide every year. It gets downloaded at least 10, 20,000 times every single cycle when we put out the voter guide. And it's very, very instrumental for people because they're able to not only see the faces of everybody, it's nonpartisan, so everybody and everything that's on the ballot is in this voter guide. We put it's in 6 different counties right now across the state. And so having tools like that is one way that we keep people safe, right? Because safety is not just physical violence. It's not just emotional violence. It's not just mental violence. It is also not having the information that you need to cast your vote as a person of color in a marginalized community. So that's one way. And then, as I said, keeping it real with them and making sure that we are also partnering with organizations that provide voter protection, making sure that we're also training lawyers to be at polling locations so that they're able to look out for things and able to make sure that our people aren't being taken advantage of when it comes to going and voting.
Wow, amazing. And Denitia, how do you find a balance with messaging to your fans to ensure they turn out and vote when they might feel overwhelmed by political messaging throughout major campaign years in particular?
Right. So I think just because our culture is that we are doing so much scrolling, we've got the 24-hour news cycle, there's so much information at our fingertips at all times. I think as an artist and somebody as a part of the music industry, we can kind of use some of the things that we know about marketing, which is somebody kind of needs to see the same message 5 to 7 times before they decide, this is familiar and I think I like this. I want to click on this. So I think it's like getting ahead of things. It's May right now in an election year, and I think starting that messaging now will be really valuable in terms of not overwhelming people at the very last minute.
Incredible. Thank you. And Lucille, how does Headcount create connectivity between your massive voter registration numbers and that final step to turn out and vote?
Yeah, I I literally could not have like even planted that 5 to 7 line that you just said, because we literally do 7 touches from anybody that comes into our orbit, right? So if that's somebody that we registered in person, or somebody that has entered a digital campaign, or entered with a partner of ours, we touch them at least 7 times, and that's via email, via text message, and we, to the best of our ability, we try to make it really personal to them. We really focus on young music fans, so folks that are 18 to 29, and we have a relatively young staff. And so thankfully, it's easy for us to make the content really useful, really easy to engage with. And we try to deliver it in a really timely manner, right? As we all know, we probably have, email on our phones. There are 8 million different things that pop in at any given time. And I'm like, I don't want to open that. I don't want to open that. I don't want to open that. And so we really do our best to make these emails and text messages that people want to open. And they have valuable information. People know that. So for our part, once people take the step of registering, right, we've already established that's the first step of many potentially to get folks across the finish line to voting. We try and give them exactly what they need at each of those steps, whether that's here are your dates, here are your times, here's where you need to go. Here are some other options of where you can go. Hey, you requested that ballot. Did you actually get it? If you haven't gotten it, here's who you talk to. Just really making it as easy as possible so that folks can actually fit that into their lives, because at the end of the day, they do need to get across the finish line to be able to say that they did it, and it's important, right? We tell people, oh yeah, just vote, just go vote. Like, it's not a completely complicated process, and there's a reason why it's a completely complicated process, right? And so for us, we go, okay, we're going to make this as easy as possible. We're going to make it a thing that you want to do, that you get to do, and that you also bring your friends to do, because it's not just about you, it's about the folks that you know, the folks in your community, and getting them to do kind of the next right thing as well.
That's great. And okay, so we've talked about registration, we've talked about IDs, we've talked about turnout. I'll give a teaser that we are forming a Music Votes Coalition, with Headcount, with iVoted, with Vote Writers. We'd love to extend an invitation to the Equity Alliance to create a simple 3-step turnkey plan to solve voting for artists, for music industry companies, for venues, for record stores. And that way, we can give you options, Denitia, right? Like, if you're able to post Headcount's toolkit, amazing, we love you. And this is in partnership with some really incredible cause-based organizations, whether it's climate orgs in the music industry, the Ally Coalition, disability rights, and that way it's kind of choose your own adventure, right? So like I said, if you're up to, post registration materials, amazing. If you also want to add, some climate information, like, we can support you with that. If you're interested in IDs, we can hook you up with Vote Writers. If you want to work on turnout, that's what we do at iVoted. So that way it's like, Denitia, we can send you that option, send you that, and you can opt in instead of, just hearing from so many orgs at once. So that'll be coming in June. And also at iVoted, we are developing tools with Johns Hopkins that shows where any artist increases civic impact. We built it for turnout, but apparently it helps civic impact, where any artist can have the biggest impact on civic impact. We analyze your unique fan demographics and compare that with the local voter rolls to show where you have the most historically low turnout fans. So definitely stay tuned for that. We just have a few minutes, but how can talent and those that support talent, whether it's their teams, their family members, their fans, get involved at the local, state, and national levels in a way that doesn't feel overwhelming?
I'll just take 2 quick seconds to say there are no wrong answers. Like, we obviously, have worked on those turnkey options for folks that, want something that, is easy to do. But, absolutely, whether that's Equity Alliance or, whatever it is in and there's no one thing too. Like, it's not that you have to necessarily choose one thing or the other. Like, we're all building toward, ideally a better future that's more inclusive of all of us and where all of our needs get met. And so, pick a direction, pick a partner, do something. It will have an impact, even if it's just on the one person that lives up the street from you. So like, no wrong answers, but.
Yeah, I would just like to take a point of privilege to say in Nashville, I want to commend our artist community, because over the last couple years, I think in 2020, I saw like this surge in artists like really, really getting involved. And I know that takes a lot. And I know that you guys are a part of the industry that's just as dirty as the one that I'm working in. And it can sometimes be challenging. So I want to say that first, that in Nashville, we have a very, very engaged artist community. I mean, from not everybody, right? There's some crazy folks on Broadway. But for the most part, people are leveraging their talents. They're leveraging their resources. They're leveraging their audiences. And it makes me proud that's why I rushed here to be at this meeting, because the artist community in Nashville has shown up for the Equity Alliance in ways that are just, that just really, really makes me feel like we're going to win this shit eventually. Because every year it grows, and then they do a song for Gloria, and then they're like, I've had people donate their proceeds from their albums to us and show up and knock doors with us. So I want to say that to say, I think that our artists in Nashville actually get it more than we probably give them credit for. So I'm not even going to tell them what to do. I'm going to tell them, when can we meet to strategize even more, because they're doing it.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think it's just a combination of what you both said, just continuing to just pick a direction and just, showing up, as it were. And having a vision, and getting with your team as an artist, I think is important to kind of talk about these issues and talk about the things that you want to support as an artist, and making sure that you're being exposed to opportunities to do so.
Amazing. So we have a couple minutes for Q&A. Do you want to trade mics? I could maybe do some mic running, because this is not a wireless. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions? Yeah. Don't be shy. Yeah. Marie over here.
Thank you all for being here. I guess I have a question in regards to, obviously, your organizations are promoting voter registration for everyone, right? And I think ideally, we're looking for, getting to a more progressive place in certain areas, states, federal level, things like that. I guess I'm just wondering, how, in addition to trying to make sure everyone votes, how are you making sure the folks that, are for causes for everyone are voting? If that makes sense.
So I'm not representing the Equity Alliance. I'm representing the Equity Alliance Fund, which is our 501c4 that we can say, don't vote for Bill Lee because he's an asshole. So
let's go.
There are several ways that we do that, and one of those is through having multiple entities to be able to run messaging around several different things. And so most people know the Equity Alliance, which is our 501c3 nonpartisan, which means we can't say Republicans are shitheads and they're running the state, but I'm not representing them right now. I'm representing the Equity Alliance Fund and our PAC that can absolutely say Marsha Blackburn is trash and you shouldn't vote for her. You should vote for Gloria or anybody besides any of the people that have signed on to any of the craziness. So it's really legalese, and I'm learning it too. I'm prepared to get arrested if I have to for it, telling you not to vote for a crazy person. I will take that charge gladly. But we have lawyers and we have compliance folks that make sure we do it in the right way. But that's why we have all of these entities and social medias. And if you're on our newsletter, I hope you are. Jordan's in the back. He can get you signed up if you aren't. That's why you'll get 2 newsletters. One from our Equity Alliance Fund that says, we call him raggedy ass Governor Lee, loudly and proudly in our Equity Alliance Fund emails. And then in the Equity Alliance, it'll say, you should go vote.
So at Headcount, we only have a C3 for the folks that like to get into the tax bits of it. So we are only nonpartisan, and I'll take that hat off to speak a little plainly about why that is for us in particular. We know that 88% of the people that we engage are young. We know that of those people, about 79% of them would identify as being liberal or progressive, sort of varieties of ways that they would slice that pie. And for us, we know, though, that people often do not want to have conversations with us about voting if they feel that we have an agenda about who they mark on that ballot. And so it's important for us to be able to go to any interaction in all of our interactions and say, hi, we don't have an agenda. We just think whatever it is that you care about, if you care about it, vote about it. And that is another reason why it takes an entire ecosystem. Obviously, I run a national organization, but we are not the only thing. There's more than enough work for all of us to get this done. And we have different pieces of that pie. If we're talking about the first barrier, there has to be a big funnel where we go, hey, you don't even know who those people are. You haven't heard those names yet. You don't know how you feel about them yet, right? And so for us, it's saying, hey, you should be invited to this party. We're not the ones. I'm saying the big party, not a party. And we say you should have your voice heard. We say, oh yeah, you haven't heard about voting. Oh, you heard that voting was, for this kind of person, or it goes like this. Well, maybe let's have a different conversation. And so that's our kind of theory of change, and it does take organizations that do have different slices of that pie, right? For us, we engage young music fans. There does need to be folks that, if your specific journey is like, yes, everybody, and also this community, and also this place, and also this specific thing, absolutely, right? It's both of those, it's all of those, and everybody picking what makes sense for them and moving that forward. What is the boulder that they feel like they can move up the hill, right? And so for us, that's our theory of change, knowing who we tend to engage, where we tend to engage, who those people tend to, what they tend to be engaging with, right? And so when we're, on tour with somebody like Billie, and, she says that, we need to stop climate change, and, she has those views that she has from her stage, and she says, and if you care about that, you should be voting, and I'm partnering with Headcount to help you do that. Like, that is really powerful, and for us to be able to do that across the board, it's really helpful for us to be nonpartisan. Because we know where people are at. We know that some people just need a different conversation to be able to actually have it.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. Well, that is a wrap for this incredible panel. Let's give it up for Denitia, Tequila, and Lucille. And I'm so thrilled to bring Matt Hall back up here to close this incredible event. We would not be here without Matt, so let's welcome Matt back on.
All right, everybody. Hey, we only have a little bit of time left for gratitude. I want to thank you for being here, for staying. We started the day talking about hoping that you were in the right place, and I don't really see a great distinction between the people who've been on stage tonight and the people who are here with us in the room. We're all either doing the work or on our way to doing the work, and I want to thank you for being a part of this community and welcoming us, the ShowUp team, to Nashville. It's been an honor to put this event together with you and for you. Some thank yous. I want to thank the sponsors who made this possible. Orchard and Tanya, thank you. ADA, Cobuzz, and Warner Nashville. I would like to thank our ShowUp team, many of whom are in the room today, people that we've worked with for years, and our advisors. I'd like to thank Sarah Baer, who this event wouldn't have happened without. I'd like to thank Lisa and Lucia from the Change Agency, who also this event wouldn't have happened without. And I'd like to thank all our speakers who joined us today. We don't take anybody's time for granted, and it means a lot to me personally that you were here, and we look forward to seeing you again. All right, that's it. We'll see you next time, guys.